Hey guys, this is Rudy for Best Investor. I'm coming at you from West Palm Beach in Florida. It is Wednesday evening. It is June the 23rd. And I was just reading this article and thought, hey, you know what? This is too good to share and too good not to share. So I thought I should kind of share this news with you. It's very, very interesting. It's one of my favorite sources, oilprice.com. I spend a lot of time, probably too much time, looking at oilprice.com, but I wanted to kind of just walk through this and then you can let me know what you think and what your thoughts are related to this. David Mesler writes for oilprice.com. He says it's too late to avoid a major oil supply crisis. He makes a number of points, and I'm just going to read and touch on a few of them. I think it's really interesting. Lack of capital investment in finding new supplies of oil and gas. A favorite analogy of mine comes to mind. The ship is nearing the dock. In nautical parlance, that means that the time for course corrections is at an end. So we shall see if that is the case for oil. The massive ship, that is, the world oil demand, is on an unalterable collision with supplies that will have profound implications for consumers. He goes on to say this key metric reveals what the future is likely to hold for our energy security as the world continues to recover from the virus for those who will listen. In fact, the majority of people will not listen. They only listen to what their government elected representatives or dictators tell them. And just take it as fact. In fact, what you should do, at least at the start, is question everything that they say, because almost without exception, 99% of what they share with you is either questionable or simply untrue. The level of drilling and by extension capital investment is insufficient and has been for a number of years to sustain oil production at current levels. It is no secret that even with the lower break-even costs for new projects, thanks to cost cutting by the industry over the past few years, oil extraction is a capital intensive business. The chart below is from WoodMac. I'm just going to skip over this one. And here we see a little message that relates to BlackRock. The message to oil and gas companies has been pretty clear right from the market. Investment funds like BlackRock asking and seeking green purity in the allocation of financing of new energy sources, and government edicts mandating carbon intensity reduction across the entire swath of society. Now, of course, we know that this has been going on, and I made a video on ESGs, which is a whole lot of fake tree hugging stuff, basically built on the premise that E equals S equals G, and they are equal partners at the table, and you have to look at all three of these, environmental, social, and governance, in order to make decisions on where you're going to invest and what you should invest in and what you should not invest in. And of course, part of the fake thesis is built on the concept that fossil fuels is bad, regardless of the fact that fossil fuels are going to be with us probably for the next, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, if not longer than that. So I'm looking at this and going like, all right, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and too many interesting things to just skip, because what's happening, and I was just commenting on this one in a comment to Bulldogs on our YouTube channel, and I said, you know, the current inflationary cycle that we are in, regardless of what the Fed says in terms of it being transitory, is actually probably going to be with us to stay for quite some time. And in fact, we are going into a cycle that is probably going to be hyperinflation, because the oil price, as it rises, as it has been rising, is likely to rise even more. And as it gets closer and closer to $100 a barrel, this is going to impact everything you see, touch, feel, taste, etc. Every single thing that you see and use every single day is going to cost more, because gas is going to be off the charts in terms of the cost. The companies who have gotten the message have gotten it loud and clear. So of course the green energy tree hugging groups have been targeting super majors like Exxon and Shell recently, and just a couple of weeks ago, Shell was told to speed up decarbonization by a Dutch court. So regardless of what the science and the facts are in terms of decarbonization and the impact of CO2 on carbon emissions, the court, basically the legislative people who are not even elected people for the most part, they are appointed, are now deciding the future of the energy decarbonization by the super majors, in this particular instance, Shell. And of course, we know what just happened with Exxon with engine number one. The lack of supply of capital will reduce the supply of oil, the lack of capital. There's going to be less oil produced in the future. So this is, he's writing saying this is not too prophetic given the points we've covered so far. I think we kind of all have an idea of where this is going. Here's a new acronym for me, DUCs, ducks, drilled but uncompleted wells. We know that not many of the wells are active. There are too few wells. There are aging wells. The supply curve, in terms of the demand curve, is not kind of a converging environment where you can say that there's a reasonable prediction that supply will meet demand. It is very, very possible that demand is far going to outstrip supply within the next few years or so. Your takeaway just here at the bottom as I wrap it up, the issue of lack of capex for new drilling was raised along with more detail on then emerging political and social dynamics affecting oil production. It's worth a reread, etc. There's good stuff in here. To summarize, in an amazingly short period of time, the world has made an irreversible bet on green energy sources, solar, wind, and biofuels, being able to shoulder much of its energy burden. This transition, without a track record and a very spotty roadmap of implementation, time will tell if it will pay off. If my judgment is correct, we will not have too long to find out. So the thing with green energy is, I think it's fair to say that the majority of people, and even Mr. Oxy, is quite comfortable focusing on making sure that we protect the environment. If it holds true that CO2 is actually some kind of evil gas as opposed to the most life-supporting gas that we have and need on the planet in order for our existence, but it needs to be cut in terms of CO2 emissions, it's okay. You know what? There are a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me who can figure this kind of stuff out. I'm just here for the ride. The fact of the matter is this. We have a clean, green energy, reusable energy source, and that is nuclear. This has been around for what now, 60, 70 years. It is one of the safest, most reliable, and arguably one of the least expensive methods of producing absolutely clean energy, and lots of it. Right now, as I speak to you, there is such a demand for uranium as the source of nuclear energy compared with the supply, which is severely depressed. One of the reasons why the supply is so depressed is because many of the miners and people who are holding inventory, like energy fuels, are basically just holding back the inventory, waiting for the price to go higher. And guess what? The more they hold on to the inventory, and the more the inventory supply is restricted by the miners and the drillers not making a supply readily available, the higher the price of uranium will go. So this, in essence, if you're an energy investor, is a good news story. If you're a consumer, and let's face it, guys, 100% of us are consumers too. If you're a consumer, this is very, very bad news. So the least you can do is you can say, as I pay more and more and more for my petrol or my gasoline at the pump, I should be able to hedge that on the other side of the equation with more and more and more energy investments that are going to be very rewarding as the supply is so restricted and the demand is off the charts. So as an investor, it's a happy story. As a consumer, this is not good news. And on that note, this is Mr. Roxy saying thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.